Amid all the traffic and the skyscrapers, the bright lights, the effort to reshape downtown Dallas continues. And tonight, our media partners over at Texas Monthy are looking into the area many call home and others call it work, obviously. Mark Dent is with us, and Mark wrote a wonderful article for Texas Monthy, joining us for an in-depth discussion on all of this. And as we kind of dive into it, Mark, I'm curious. Let's start with, there's a multi-billion-dollar plan, we know, to renovate the K. Bailey Hutchison Convention Center. That is a huge deal. When we scope down, what's wrong with downtown Dallas, and how is that plan specifically, the convention center, expected to help whatever is wrong downtown?
So when you think about downtown, there's a few problems with it right now. To start off, by the way, by many measures, it's better in better shape than it's been when you think about the recent past. For instance, about 25 years ago, there were less than 500 people living downtown, or certainly at least in the late 90s. Now you have 15,000 people. So that's an incredible gain, and so the population has really gotten a lot bigger. That said, the way downtown is now just kind of leaves, I think, Dallasites in general, and particularly Dallasites who live downtown, wanting a little bit more. Violent crime has been up substantially over the last few years. A lot of people say homelessness has been on the rise and that the city isn't doing enough to kind of rehouse homeless people. And on top of that, it just feels lacking a little bit, like maybe not enough entertainment options, just not what you'd expect out of a city, especially one that's one of the 10 largest in the country. So the convention center could change some of that. At least the city thinks so. So voters a few years ago approved a $3.7 billion initiative to help fund this convention center, and that's going to come from hotel taxes. And the convention center is going to be completely new, so it'll face a whole different direction that'll make it a lot more open toward downtown, and it should also create greater access to southern Dallas as well, in addition to just being this new facility. And whenever facilities are new, they tend to get more visitors, and if there's more visitors, Dallas believes that downtown will then see more restaurants, more hotels, and better street life.
Right. And when we talk about the convention center specifically, clearly the whole mission of it is to bring visitors to town, right? So there's that one element that's a given. But focusing in on the people who live downtown, what do residents want to see necessarily happen? More visitors maybe brings a few more restaurants, things of that nature. But what else are they looking for specifically among those 15,000 when you talk about the population? What do they want downtown that they don't have, I guess, right now?
Right, yeah. They want more than anything a grocery store, like a supermarket. Downtown has had a Berkeley's Market. It's had a couple of them, and one just closed a few months ago. And, that's just kind of like a place where you could get a few items, not like a full-on grocery store by any stretch. So that's what they want. They also would like doctors, more doctors. So it's these simple things that anybody would want in their neighborhood. They don't necessarily want a $3.7 billion to be spent on a convention center, or think that will bring the characteristics that they really desire. Additionally, this one data firm called Gensler did a report on downtowns in general around the United States, and they found the things that people want the most are discoverability and just like the ability to have fun. And, Dallas residents, they've rated Dallas kind of middle of the pack on those characteristics, downtown Dallas, that is. And, so when you think about fun and discoverability, at least for residents, those are things like nice restaurants, little alleyways you can walk down, not necessarily these big, expensive projects.
Yeah, and I think the touch points that you point to as far as something as simple as a grocery store, accessibility to doctors and medical practices, or something all of us in the suburbs, you completely take it for granted. It's there. It's the way. Yeah. It's the way suburban America is built, but a different situation in a downtown environment, obviously. So changes in work practice since the pandemic, that has also left a mark on the downtown area. Talk a little bit about the challenge with that and how it led to, you touch on it in your article, this so-called 1-minute city. What is that?
Yeah, well, I'll get to the 1-minute city in a second, but first, like you said, work has changed a lot in this country, and it has in Dallas as well. I got some data from this group in Philadelphia that looked at about 26 of the largest cities in the U.S., and it found that about 69% of Dallas's workers who don't live downtown already have returned to downtown for work. So that's not a bad number, but it's about middle of the pack for the U.S., and it ranks far behind San Antonio, which is at 80%, Nashville, which is also at 80%. So yeah, there's a lot of empty space still in these buildings downtown. So what does that have to do with the 1-minute city? Because more people can work from home, and because they just kind of got used to that life during the pandemic, this one really well-known urbanist named Richard Florida explains that now people want these 1-minute cities where they build a big house in the suburbs or the exurbs, where they can have a couple of offices there. Maybe they have a pool outside for entertainment. They got a really nice TV. Everything that they need to do, more or less, is in their house. It's a 1-minute city for them, and they don't have to leave that much, unless, of course, they want social interaction.
And then how in the world does downtown Dallas compete with something like that, presuming that's the way a lot of people are going?
The social interaction part of it is certainly one way. And so you think about the convention center, and yeah, that will certainly increase visitors, who live outside of Dallas. But is it going to be that attractive to Dallas residents? Probably not usually. So Richard Florida, for instance, that urbanist, he suggested things like building sports arenas, building casinos. Obviously, Texas has not legalized gambling yet, but it's certainly a possibility. So those big things can draw people from outside of downtown into downtown. And it's sort of like a change in the way a lot of people think about cities compared to just 20 years ago. It wasn't always seen as like a must to kind of have an arena or, a football stadium or something like that. But it seems like that's really picking up. But like I said, when people want to find fun and discoverability, it can also just mean a lot more people on the sidewalk and fun places to walk around.
Yeah, some very cool insights, Mark, on where we've been and obviously where the downtownites want to go with all of this. Mark Dent, we appreciate you and the discussion tonight. Thanks so much. And be sure to check out Mark's article right now on TexasMonthly.com.